Hello, everyone. This is our weekly broadcast where we discuss everything about SEO and AI. Again, we do not separate the two at this point. They're too overlapping at this point. There are different other acronyms that talk about optimizing for AI and LLMs, which we randomly use because we want to speak to people the language that is being popular, but in my understanding, this is something we need to discuss as two not separate options and channels. With you today, I'm Smari. I have been a CEO for more than 20 years. Now I'm the co-founder of Smarty Marketing. We are based in New York. With me today and always, April, our director of social. She's great at discussing Reddit. That's why we talk about Reddit so much, because she's a real Reddit expert, but not so much in SEO, which is great because she can bring that fresh perspective of someone who may not be as much involved as I am. We will be discussing answer engine optimization today, AEO. That is a new acronym. That is, answer engines are not a new, for sure, not a new concept in our industry. I think it's been since 2015 at least that Google started showing quick answers, and we were calling it answer engine and not search engine anymore. But answer engine optimization also includes LLM optimization these days as well. And finally, we have some new findings, new studies that shed some, have some new perspective, because so far everything we have been discussing, we've been doing for years at and it's nothing new that I could find, and I tried that AEO or GEO could bring to the optimization strategies. I think these two studies are not exactly innovative, not something that they're changing anything a lot, but at least they bring new perspectives. Before we go into that, some quick updates from our industry. Search Console just announced branded and non-branded search filter in, and that is helpful, makes it much easier to find branded queries, to track them, to see if they're evolving, increasing in volume or impressions. That is a helpful, not exactly that we couldn't do that before, because you could filter out queries by brand terms or use regex expressions to do that. But at least it is much easier today. Now you can either focus on branded queries or filter out branded queries and just see non-branded traffic in Search Console. So check that out. I think it is announced as public. It used to be for for some testers, but now it is public for everyone. Go ahead and play with that. This update was shared by our subreddit subscriber. By the way, check it out. We are on Reddit as SEO for AI. That's our dedicated subreddit, which we welcome all the new members, because that's where we are very carefully filter out and curate everything that is important for SEO and for SEO for AI. We are trying to focus on LLM visibility there, and this update was shared there. That's how I was one of the few first to know about that, and you can be one of the first to know about everything as well if you start following us on Reddit. So that is great news. We do see Google improving Search Console. A couple of weeks ago, Google added AI controls to the performance section, where you can filter out your reports using prompts, which is also helpful, but not necessarily new functionality, because you could do everything without prompts if you knew what you wanted. With prompts, you still need to know what you want and what is doable, because it does rely on existing filters. So it is new and fun to play with. I don't see either of those features to change much and make things much easier and even more productive, but it is nice that Google is doing something with Search Console, because it was a while. Of course, the biggest feature that everyone has been waiting for and asking for was an ability to see separate reports for AI integrations, AI overviews, and AI mode. At this point, both are integrated in organic search performance, which doesn't make much sense because those are not 10 blue links. But we are still hoping for that. I think John Mueller even replied saying it's a big functionality, so it takes time. So it looks like they may be working on it, or maybe they are just not. We will wait and see, still hoping for some insight into AI visibility through Search Console, which we do not have at this point. Bing was the one who did include AI visibility reports from Copilot and its partners to Bing's webmaster tools. But again, we applaud to Bing. We always want those search engines and LLM platforms to work with us publishers, giving us some additional analytics. In my perspective, though the Bing webmaster tools AI report is not very actionable, but still better than nothing. So with that in mind, let's talk about today's topic. How do we optimize for LLMs so that we get cited in AI answers? Here we are talking about two independent studies that were quite recent and quite interesting. If you want to see the actual studies, please go to answers.The and click the top link talking about this particular topic. There I include all the links and screenshots and even helpful tools that can help you try that optimization tactic that we are talking about today. So there were two independent studies. First one was looking at ChatGPT citations, and the interesting takeaway there was that the most citations, most URLs that somehow impacted the AI answer, they mentioned the quick answer right on top of the article. In the first third of the article, there is an answer that LLMs picked, ChatGPT, I think that was just ChatGPT, picked as the to cite. Here, I have an interesting question from all of my friends. I don't think we have insight into how long those articles were in the first place, because there is a difference between 1/3 of a 2,000-word article and 1/3 of a 500-word article. So it would be nice to know the exact number of words that LLMs prefer to read. We already know they don't like reading that much, but we don't know how much they actually read. The second study was very much aligned with that one. That looked at 5 platforms, and they also found that LLMs do not read a lot, and they prefer to pick the thing that they want to cite from the top of the article, mostly. That one, I think, was showing that the very first sentence, the very first paragraph, 10% of the article is not as popular as the next 30% of the article is being picked to cite. So the takeaway from here, and I think it's a pretty new thing we want to emphasize at this point, is that everything you want to say, everything the most important, should be on top of the article. No vague introductions. By the way, we knew that from helpful content either. They want everything, great answers right on top. And it looks like, by the way, helpful content was pretty much using the same logic. That probably was also machine learning algorithm, because they did they did penalize all the interesting, fun, but irrelevant and vague introductions in most articles. They want you to go right to the point and to let people find the answers right at the start reading very quickly. So that aligns with SEO advice as well. And that also shows that LLMs and SEO, traditional SEO, overlap a lot. So we do have like, ever since LLMs began, every other article and landing page slap those FAQs at the bottom of the page. So guess what? Maybe that's not as effective as answering the actual question on top of the article instead of adding it to the very bottom. Something new and something interesting to play with, and let's do that, but in a meaningful way. Let's not manipulate too much. Again, I'm sure there will be a lot of theories and services that will be about this. We will optimize your article by just putting everything that matters on top. Let's do that in a meaningful way, not forget about our readers as well. Next finding was also interesting. Those citations are not very long. They pick sentences that are no longer than 17 words, and they pick the most meaningful and important sentence, of course, not too vague. That study introduces, that was a new term for me. I'm sure maybe it was there for a long time, but it is atomic facts. This is the least number of words that can answer the question in the most meaningful and useful way. New concept for me, we were mostly talking before about chunking, which I've never been a huge fan of the term because it was already very much abused around the industry. Everyone was talking about chunking. That study shows that paragraph level is not that important as an individual sentence that can answer the question or solve the problem in the most meaningful way. So the more meaning, less words, makes sense for usability as well. I love when sentences are easy to understand and they carry a lot of meaning. I'm sure many web users are the same as well. And LLMs love that too. It looks like, and something to also experiment with. Even if you're answering the question, do not try to be very wordy. Do not try to have to optimize for keywords. I think our industry was spoiled by that keyword optimization strategy for a long time. We tried to make sentences longer to use more keywords in them. Well, this is not working anymore. I'm sure for Google, Google also looks at that as well, but that one I'm not sure about. Another thing that we already knew from featured snippet optimization times, we knew that machines, bots like lists, numbers, bullet point lists. They love those tables, any structured content and structured in a way that it's quick. It's very easy for LLMs and even SEO bots as well to extract information when it is in the form of a list. Back many years ago, when we optimized for featured snippet, we knew that already. That was one of our tricks, to be featured even if we rank, if our clients rank 5 or even lower. So lists was a great way to get on top of everyone in the featured result. LLMs follow the same pattern. This one is not exactly new, but I still included it because it's a good reminder that we need to do that. With that being said, 2 notes here. First of all, even if we use atomic facts or chunk, or if we use lists, or if we get everything that matters in the first third of the article, you are still not guaranteed to be cited, and I think it increases your chances. Possibly, but there is no guarantee. There is no like 1, 2, 3 steps to being listed or being cited. This study, as well as many other studies before, claim and show that there is not much overlap between citations if you ask the same prompt several times from different or the same platform. Gemini and AI mode are supposed to be run by the same technology. There is very little overlap of citations there. I have my own theories. I shared them before. They fan out in different directions, so they search for a little bit different terms. ChatGPT may have their own partners that they cite, and however you optimize, there will be those citations included as well. So there are many ways to explain this, but citations, just optimizing for citations, is not a guarantee that your site will be cited. You can increase your chances to be cited by ranking well in Google. That is for sure. And last week we discussed that as well. And over at nsmarty.com, you can read those studies as well. On my subreddit, I've been covering very many subreddits on how much Google relies, ChatGPT relies on Google. In many ways, even like there is a weird connection between being indexed by Google and being known to ChatGPT. So there are many levels and many studies showing that good, healthy organic visibility is still fundamental and the most important part to being cited. So you can optimize for citations as much as you can, but unless you are visible in organic search results, there is not many chances that you will actually be cited. Another point here that I was talking a lot about previously is that this is all about citations. I think we talk too much about those. We really don't know how citations really impact the answer. Some LLMs will pull results from their answers from their training data and then go find citations that support those. Some LLMs use citations more than the others. The key is good, healthy brand positioning in training data and the visibility of the actual brand inside the answer, not so much citations that no one really clicks. And this is absolutely different topic. I don't want this LLM optimization, however we call it, whether it's GEO, whether it's whatever. I don't want that to be only about on-site conversation, because in most cases, whatever you do on the site, your brand is so not known, or it is known in a bad way, that LLMs will never recommend you as the answer to the question. So the optimization of your brand positioning and your value proposition is also fundamental, just like SEO. All those chunking atomic facts are great things to know and keep in mind, but it's not fundamental to visibility. With that, let's quickly discuss a few questions. If you have any, post them in comments, wherever you are watching us from. If you have some feedback or another study you want us to know about, also please let us know, or tools. I love tools and I feature quite a few of them in my newsletter all the time. So post everything in the comments and we will hopefully see those. April, I know you had a few great questions, so it's your time.
We talked about keywords, but do you think that keywords still matter when it comes to content for getting cited, or just in general?
In general, and for this particular use case, they are definitely useful and fundamental. Again, we don't have, and that's the point. When people say that keywords are dead or something like that, what are they using? We don't have any other reliable data as to what people are solving or wondering about online when they search or when they ask LLMs. We don't have that data. So keywords is all we have. And it's also a very manageable data that is not overwhelming. Go ahead and try categorize, I don't know, make sense of prompts. It's not easy. Keywords is all we have and probably all we will ever have when it comes to understanding what it is people are wondering about. You can work with keywords in different ways. That's true. If you are trying to use as many keywords, variations of keywords in your copy to a point when it reads weirdly, that of course is like back, it's left far, far behind us. But if you use keywords to understand search intent, to understand demand, to understand most popular questions and problem, and that there are always, you can always tell what what someone is trying to solve or trying to answer by just looking at the keywords. In most cases, sometimes keywords can have dual intent, but in most cases, if you just look at it, it's obvious. It's also obvious how far down the sales funnel that person is, because if they're just trying to figure out the topic, the problem, possible solutions, it's one thing. When they're searching for professional jargon or for brand names or something like that, you know they already know the topic very well, and you can write the article that actually addresses these needs. You don't need to explain much, because by just looking at the keyword, you know exactly how much the person knows about the topic, how close they are to buying or engaging with your brand, or how much help they need, additional help they need. So keywords, in my mind, are very important. And yes, we still use them in title tags and we still use them in headings, because people see familiar things when they land on your page. They are much more likely to engage with them. And Google still matches keywords to documents, even like in a different way than it did 20 years ago, but it still does. So it's still the first thing I do is make sense of keywords for any topic, whether it's editorial calendar, whether it's trying to find opportunities or keyword gaps. There are so many ways keywords can still help you strategize a good, visible website.
So, like, how do you balance making genuinely helpful content with LLM citation visibility?
My favorite question. I feel like they that's a very common question. There were a few, maybe a month or so ago, everyone was citing John Mueller, I guess, said, you don't need chunking. It's not something we do, just write for people. Well, one doesn't contradict the other. That's my point. Just with those, like, putting in the most important information on top of your page and using short, concise, but very helpful sentences is all people need to like engage with your page and find the answer on it or become your customer. It's even, I think that those things like chunking is actually using very relevant, very semantically relevant paragraphs and like target each paragraph to a semantic concept that answers some particular question. It is also helpful if you just write the wall of page without paragraphs, headings, and stuff like that. It's not user friendly. So all of those ideas that we are covering on this broadcasts, all of those are people first, in my opinion. Using lists. Don't you like lists? I love lists because I always scan to them and see actual options. Don't you like comparison tables? Don't you like headings that make it easier to scan? Don't you like quick short sentences instead of like huge poems? So it's definitely, I think it's definitely better for readers, all these tactics. It's not even about balancing or trying to help both. I feel like all of this are people first, and it's good to know that LLMs love them too. And we also know from Google and from helpful content that Google also doesn't like huge introductions, anything that is not helpful or not addressing the particular need that people came from search results to your page. So it's SEO, it's LLMs, but it's also people first. First of all, it's helpful to people, and that's why I liked this strategy so much, because it's not, back when we started, it was definitely search engine first. All the keyword density, all of those tactics that we had to use, because it did work. It did work surprisingly well at some point. All you needed is to just use the keyword as much as you can. Today, and it's a great evolution of SEO and optimizing for machines. Today, we are targeting people first, because not only because it's a ranking signal. Also, Google does look at how people engage with your web page, but also because we want people to like us. We want them to buy, and all of those things, I think, are helpful for that.
I guess we're kind of just like AI because we just want to find answers as quickly and like as well as organized as possible. So gotta keep that in mind when you're making content.
And I'm sure that people are not, they've been online for so long. Imagine 20 years ago, when I would land on a page, I would read it all. Now we are so used to scanning, and if we've been trained to scan for so long, so unless you really structure your content the way that it's scannable, then you will just lose people. And LLMs are the same. They save resources. That's why they don't read so much. They use a lot of energy. Everyone is talking about that, and they are trying to save that energy as much as possible. So they are trying to focus on pages that give them answers right away. So it's definitely helpful to both.
Final question. Should content be shorter if most citations are taken from the top?
Another very common question. We were just discussing the ideal length of articles over at our subreddit. And for LLMs, has that changed? And the question was like, 5 years ago, we were recommended to write at least 2,000 words. What is the ideal length for LLMs? And the answer is, it has never been recommended to write 2,000 word articles. It was just like EAT, just interpreted in a different way, in a wrong way, I would say. It's always been the advice for how long the article should be, has always been the same. As long as you can answer the question well or solve the problem well. It can be 300 words. If you think it's someone who knows the topic and just needs a quick solution, it very well can be 300 words. If you know that the people who are searching for those keywords or typing those prompts are very not knowledgeable on the topic and they need more help, then you write 2,000 words, or as long as it takes, to give them all the options, all the answers that may be wondering about. It's the same with LLMs, even if they do not want to read that much, and we will try from now on give all the answers on top, which more or less aligns with helpful content recommendations. So it's not exactly new. We've always known that Google wants people to see the answer right as they land on it on the page. It's just reinforcing SEO guidelines, I would say. So if you give that answer right away, but you feel that there's more context needed to give more options to explain that quick answer in more different ways, because a quick answer is not always possible, especially with complicated topics. You write as much as you want because you write for people in the first place. You want them to find more information or find more answers. But also for SEO, it's still a great idea to be in depth as well as helpful. And that is where you elaborate more and more on things that can be relevant to this particular search intent. There has never been an ideal length of that. Maybe at the beginning, I remember when I started many years ago, we had to write at least 500 words. and use, I don't remember, 4% keyword density or 8, I don't remember that. And it worked. Maybe at that point that was a sweet spot. I'm not sure. Maybe it just correlation between causation. Maybe they ranked because of the keyword density. And keyword density was easier to achieve when the article is not 2,000 words. So it is not, for as long as I remember, after those early times in SEO, there has never been an ideal length of the page. It has always been as much as you are providing a good, solid, and valuable and helpful answer, and you serve the search intent. Sometimes it's answers, sometimes it's action, sometimes it's solving the problem. It's different from in different situations, but as long as you serve that search intent in the most exhaustive way, you are done, and you don't care about how many words it took. With that, I hope you read those studies again over at nsmarty.com. All the links are provided, as well as screenshots and all the explanations as well. Please subscribe while you're there. Join our subreddit. Over at nsmarty, I will announce the next topic early next week, and you will have the link to join to know what's going on in SEO. Please subscribe and come next Wednesday, 1 p.m. EST, for other actionable advice on SEO and SEO for AI. Thank you so much. Thank you, April, for great questions. Really loved answering those. And thank you, everyone who joined us. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments. We will address them after this live broadcast. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.